If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
The previous line of inspirational reversed son-father advice is not actually in the book. But there it is anyway, because now Marty is talking to George and that counts, right? Only they're at school again at lunchtime. Now that the scene is set, we can begin. George congratulates Marty for taking Lorraine to the dance, and Marty is so tired of this whole George and Lorraine have to date or I will die thing that all he can do is
exhale wearily
and start lying and insulting his mother.
Let me explain something, Marty said. She only agreed to go to the dance with me because she knew you'd be there. How can that be? George asked. She could have gone to the dance with me if she wanted.
A valid point.
She's really screwed up, Marty said.
Sick burns. And up to this very moment I was reading that as, she, really screwed up, as in, she made a mistake. Not what it actually says, she's apostrophe S really screwed up, as in, she is a hot mess. In conclusion, Book Marty remains a class act. Sarcasm, he's actually a jerk. Marty goes on to lie about how screwed up Lorraine is, and the baffling metaphor he lands on is someone haggling on price on something they want. Sometimes they'll even say they don't want it and walk away, just to keep the price down. And George nods to this because the plot needs him to agree, but it's kinda the stupidest explanation ever because who's haggling? And how does agreeing to go to the dance with someone else advance her assumed secret desire to go with George? In the movie Marty only says,
She wants to go with you. She just doesn't know it yet.
Which at least plays up to George's ego and says, in effect,
convince her you're awesome, and she'll be interested in spending time with you.
It's a small difference from she wants to go with you but is haggling on the price of the date for some reason, but I think it's kinda an important one. Because it makes Lorraine not be insane. Anyway, George finally says,
why didn't she just ask? Or say yes when I asked?
Which are both reasonable questions, and Marty answers.
Some women will accept wonderful things only if they seem like accidents, Marty replied sagely.
So sage, Marty. Page 190. Marty decides that if Lorraine sees that George isn't a chicken, she'll realize George is definitely what, not who, she wants.
But I think I am a chicken,
George says hilariously and adorably. Like Biff walking in like a gunfighter, this chicken thing is again some unintentional good stuff. It helps set up the nobody calls me chicken thing Marty does throughout the second two movies but of which no mention is made in the first one, and having him at least use the word negatively here goes quite a way to making Marty's sudden chicken obsession in the sequels seem less weird / coming entirely out of nowhere. But again Gipe couldn't have known so we can't really give him the credit. Plus maybe it was in the script before being cut from the movie? We may never know. After this, Marty again busts out the gendered terms and insists that every man has one thing he'll stand up and fight for, and for George it's Lorraine. Marty goes on to say they'll start training this afternoon as soon as school is over, and George takes a deep breath and nods. Next sentence, school is over. We're in George's backyard, and Marty and George are punching a homemade body bag Marty made. And oh goody, the recipe is provided. It's
clothes stuffed into a duffel bag until it was solid as a rock.
But soon, Marty gets tired of that and tries to get George to punch him instead. George doesn't want to, says he's never picked a fight in his life, and Marty comes close to the daddy-o line but instead says,
you're not picking a fight Dad, I mean George.
Which is heck of a weaker. And keeps reminding me of,
Hi Missy. Mom.
So maybe it's not so bad after all because I like both Bill and Ted's excellent adventure and their eponymous bogus journey too. Anyway Marty says,
you're coming to her rescue. George says it sounds so corny.
And who likes corn, Marty?
Girls like corn.
Stay classy, Marty McFly. Stay classy. Page 191. Okay. So this is a weird point in the story no matter how you dress it up. Marty drops "now maybe we'd better go over the plan again" line, which is a decent way of getting the information to the audience quickly and which survives in the movie. And the 5-step plan, for those of you who haven't seen the movie, is this. Marty takes Lorraine to the dance. They park outside the dance and make out. Marty starts being too forward with her and Lorraine gets mad at him. George steps up, pulls Marty out of the car, and punches him. Marty acts like it was a really good punch, Lorraine falls for George, and all our problems are over. It danced around a little, but the centerpiece of this plan is to trap the 17-years-old but still legally underage Lorraine in a car and enrage her by attempting to do things with her that she doesn't consent to. And that's a weird place to take this science fiction comedy fantasy. Marty gets to step 3 of the plan when George interrupts to ask why Lorraine is going to be angry with him. Apparently, he never considered this when they went over it the first time. Here's how they present it in the movie.
Well, because, George, nice girls get angry when guys take advantage of them. Oh, you mean you're gonna go touch her on her... No, George. Look, it's just an act, right?
It does pretty much all it can to present this as easily as possible, and George is embarrassed. Go touch her on her, phrasing helps sell it as a lighter moment. Plus, Marty clarifies that it's all an act right away. The book version holds back on that reveal for as long as possible.
Why will she get angry with you? Because I'm gonna get pushy. And nice girls get angry at guys who try to take advantage of them. You mean you're gonna? Marty nodded. A strange sad look crossed George's face.
George be like, you mean you're going to help me, by taking pushy sexual advantage of the girl I like? I feel strange and sad. Oh George, these feelings are totally understandable. The book goes on as these two teens discuss how hard it would be not to have sex in a car with Lorraine.
Suppose she lets you? George asked. How can you say that? Marty shot back. She's not only a nice girl but she's She's my friend. I couldn't lay a hand on her. Are you sure? George asked through narrowed eyes. I mean, she's pretty. A guy'd have to be made of stone to say no to Lorraine.
And only now does Marty finally say,
it's all gonna be an act, so don't worry about it.
Marty wants George to practice what he's gonna say when he yanks Marty out of the car, but George can't think of anything.
Damn it, you shouldn't even have to think. Marty says. Here you are, face to face with a guy who's pawing the girl you love. It should be automatic.
And what's the number one best example of old manitis we've had so far? Well, forget it, it's in second place because right now, and I am honestly not making this up, Gipe is making vaudeville references.
His jaw working fiercely, exaggeratedly, rather like an old-time vaudeville villain. George spat the line.
Hey you, get your damn hands off her.
Then, his expression reverting to type, he asked in a soft voice.
You really think I ought to swear?
Yes, definitely, Marty nodded.
Amazing. Also in the movie Marty instead replies.
Yes, definitely, God damn it, George, swear.
Which is a funnier response by far and brings life to the scene. George practices punching Marty but he sucks, so Marty shows him how to punch on the body bag. And guess what? Marty is awesome at punching.
He hung the duffel bag on the clothesline T-bar, stepped back, and blasted it with a powerful uppercut. The bag recoiled nearly a foot. Work on something like that, he said.
George punches the bag, trying to emulate Marty, but he still sucks. Finally he lashes out with all his strength and misses.
Whizzes past his intended target.
And hits the tree behind the bag.
Yow. God damn it. He yells. Marty just waves as he walks away saying good. That's real anger. See you later.
With Marty gone, George is fuming, and his hand hurts.
But the frustration in him was stronger than the pain.
He punches the bag again. Well, more accurately he
took 2 steps forward and uncorked a mighty punch.
Like a fine wine, I guess. He hits the body bag so hard that it flies off the clothesline, somehow negotiates its way around the tree that was behind it a paragraph ago, flies through the air, and smashes a window in his house. This is a crazy scene for a few reasons, but story-wise it's totally awful because when George does finally punch someone in the climax, spoiler alert, it's not a surprise anymore, because we've already seen him punch a hard as a rock body bag into a window, possibly through a tree.